Welcome to the Creative Coast's video podcasts featuring Savannah's top thinkers, business people, innovators, and creators. With host B. Ray, director of the Creative Coast. What follows are interviews running on the Creative Coast website this month. You can check out the podcasts day or night at blog.thecreativecoast.org.
Actually on the advisory board here at the Creative Coast.
Hello and welcome to the Front Porch. My name is B. Ray. I'm with the Creative Coast, and today we're talking it up with Josiah Toepfer of Sparrows. Hey Josiah, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
Super. So you want to talk to me about boating, huh?
Yes. Well, more so I want to talk about boating safety.
Okay.
So, Sparrows was born out of the idea when I used to be on active duty in the Coast Guard,
Okay.
that I would do inspections of commercial and recreational vessels. And captains would always come to us and say, I don't have time to go through all these regulations. You know, there's just so much to do. Like, can you just give me a checklist of something
Right.
so I know what I need to have? And we would start handwriting checklists and coming up with our own and creating our little inspection guidebooks to give to them. And then some of us decided, well, why not make this a formal thing? Why are we
Recreating it every
haphazarding
time.
checklists?
Right.
You know, let's make it an official one. And that's where Sparrows came out of. I decided to switch from active duty to reserves so I could still kind of stay in touch with the regulatory world,
Okay.
so to speak, but get out so that I could do this. And so one of the goals of Sparrows is that, or one of the missions, that we believe that boating safety can not only can we save lives for individual recreational boaters, reduce injuries from casualties, but we can save them money at the same time.
So what is Sparrows?
So what Sparrows is it's a customized checklist of federally and state required safety equipment for your personal boat.
Got it.
So you would go on our website, boatinfo.org, type in the basic information about your vessel, the length, the beam, the draft, its propulsion type, and just based on that information alone, we can provide you with a customized checklist of all the federally required, state required, and locally required safety equipment, as well as links to national retailers' trusted sites to where you can get approved safety equipment that meets those regulations.
Wonderful. And so that's something that's updated how often?
It'll be updated on a regular basis. New regulations are coming out monthly. They take time before they're actually enforced. And also each state has its own time frame which they operate. So the connections that we have with both the Coast Guard and also an organization called the National Association of State Boating Law Administrators, which is an organization of all the different states' boating safety and regulatory agencies. Those connections will enable us to keep this information constantly up to date and current with the latest information.
Great. And how long ago did you say, years ago that you first had this idea, or you had an idea and next month you created a company?
Well, we first had this idea a couple years ago. I first started doing inspections back in 2009 for the Coast Guard, and as I progressed to different qualifications, different vessel types, from container ships to oil tankers, liquefied gas carriers, and then I became an investigator for marine casualties, which is where I got more of my interaction with individual recreational boaters and then small, what's called six-pack operators. So like your local fishing boat captain who can take out up to 6 passengers. So it was that combination of experience and seeing the similarities in what these professional mariners are asking for, and also what these local, what the average boater is asking for. Right. Seeing almost the exact same thing, and then, of course, seeing the impact the lack of equipment had with doing some of these investigations led me and a few others to believe that, there's got to be a better way that we can do this.
And you say the impact, meaning someone had an accident, someone
Yes.
got hurt,
Yes.
and that upset you because
It
you
does.
thought, darn, if they'd only thought through, had a
Mhm.
checklist, or if the checklists were easier to find, not only would they save money on a fine, but someone might have saved a life.
Exactly.
And-
And unfortunately, we see about, on average, 8 people getting injured in boating accidents every day.
8 people a day?
8 people a day.
In what region?
That's across the U.S.
Okay.
So that's nationally, and on average, nationally, one person dies every day from drowning, and there's a 90% chance that person is not wearing or was not wearing a life jacket when they entered the water.
Right.
So, we're trying to figure out why is that? What's the reason that people aren't bringing their safety equipment? And Coast Guard boating safety surveys, their last one was in 2012, found that over 20% of people don't bring the required safety equipment with them, and that's just from the survey responders.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's of the survey responders of the 50% of boats in this country that are registered. There's another
Right.
50% that aren't registered
Right.
that Coast Guard has no oversight of.
So it could be much higher. Right. Wow. And so what's next in the development of the company? Where are you going? It's a web-based product now.
Yes.
Okay.
So right now it's a web-based product. We're working on creating a version that you can see both on your computer at home, but then also on your phone, because portability is key in this, I believe.
Sure.
We want people to be able to access the information wherever they are in this country.
Mm-hmm.
For that matter, wherever they are in the world. So right now we're also working on compiling the state database. Each state has its own unique set of regulations. So in addition to the federal regulations, you've got 50 different sort of entities that have their own ideas of what boating safety and licensing should be.
Right.
So that's been taking a little bit of time to compile and put together.
Got it. And of course, it makes sense when you be able to walk on your boat. You can check the list right there while you're looking at it, rather than.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm sure you could print it out.
And once we compile the database and finish our mobile site, then our next step is to create a mobile application so that you can download the information directly onto your phone. Doesn't matter whether you have service or not.
Right.
Whether you're 100 miles out at sea, got our application, you can check, you can access that information wherever you are. And our hope is that we'll be able to eventually connect with all the different search and rescue agencies in the world, and a program called AMVERS, which connects ships all over the world to each other.
Wow.
So that if you ever have a problem and you have our application, all you need to do is hit a button on your phone and it would send signals through satellites and be able to contact the nearest response organization.
Great. So moving from just informative to actually actionable. Good for you. Well, Josiah Toepfer, it's just lovely to see you. Thanks for coming to be a part of the Front Porch and being a part of what makes Savannah so awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Hi, welcome to the Front Porch. My name is Catherine Liebert. I work with the Creative Coast on Geekend and all of our other fabulous programs. And today we're chatting it up with Stephen Scarborough from SCAD. So Stephen, hi, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit about your role at SCAD.
My role involves looking at all the digital assets that come through and thinking about how you're going to interact with them. Either is it a banner ad, is it a website, is it an application, is it an interactive table at the museum? So looking at all the pieces together, making sure they kind of make sense. I'm not really in the trenches in terms of opening up some of the design software, but looking at it overall and how it works together in the larger picture.
And how long have you been doing that?
2 years.
Great. So you're not really so much on the programming coding side, you're more in the directing and the user experience, I guess, or?
I am, yeah, currently I am. That's what I'm doing now. So it's the design director for the interactive team, but when I started, I kind of did both. So I was doing coding and programming and design, and I kind of gravitate towards both. I find them both to be very satisfying for a creative outlet. But now I spend most of my days looking at everything that comes through and just kind of guiding the overall efforts for that.
Nice. So what's the most fun part of your job?
Oh, getting to interact with the team for sure. Like it's a really great projects that you get to work on. So like especially for SCAD, we've got the location in Lacoste, this Hong Kong, Atlanta, Savannah, and then the e-learning, which can be anywhere really. But a great example, we just launched a virtual reality program. So for students who have been accepted, we've sent out kind of a Google Cardboard branded through SCAD where they can look at their location, so they can choose whatever location they want to. They put their phone into the Google Cardboard and they can wear them and virtually walk around the locations and jump from building to building, from location to location. So I mean that's something that you wouldn't get to work on. And then later the day, you're looking at what a homepage for an event site looks like. And so the projects that come through, there's a lot of variety that goes through our desk and our office.
Nice. Cool. So let's talk a little bit about you. I believe you have a background in print, a little bit print media. So how did you make the shift from print to more like design and interactive stuff?
Yeah, well, I mean, I started off as a musician, and that was a very good creative outlet for me. So the natural extension with that was this music. So there's posters, there's album covers. So I graduated towards doing something in that direction. So I would do album covers for friends, or I would do posters or flyers for shows, and then that was kind of a natural path for me to go into print, and I could kind of keep that and do music at the same time. And then one day, someone showed me the inspect element behind a browser window, and they changed some colors, and they saw the code, and it was literally like seeing magic. And the idea of being able to change a few numbers, a few lines of code, and things start to happen, and they're moving on the screen, and you can interact with it, and you're controlling all these different experiences, and it was a larger door than print could offer, at least for what I was doing. And it was just, I couldn't not do that once I've seen it. It's just, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube at that point. So it's been about a decade now since I've been doing the interactive, and I love it. I still do print. I'll still do letterpress, cards, invitations. I like to just kind of get my hands in everything.
Cool. Yeah, it's great to see how those things are actually so connected. When you say print media versus coding, it might seem like two different worlds, but yeah, that's cool. So how did you end up in Savannah? Was that SCAD that pulled you in, or was it something different?
No, it was Georgia Southern, and my wife, Amy Scarborough, she has her PhD in design history, and so she was teaching visual merchandising at Georgia Southern. And we decided to choose Savannah versus living in Statesboro. We love the water, we like being at the coast. We have 2 lovely kids at home, so we're kind of in the middle of family between South Carolina and Alabama, so it's about a day's drive to get to and visit. And we can get to Atlanta quickly, we can get to the coast, Charleston, Hilton Head, wherever. Jekyll, it's a really great place to live. And then the fact that the Creative Coast is here, there's a lot of support. It's a very small town in that way that I feel like the networking is great, but I feel it's very supportive for if you have a creative outlet, if there's something you want to do, you have an idea, there's someone that probably wants to do that thing with you, you can find support through the people who just offer up advice or whatever it is. And the Creative Coast was a huge part of that. But if you just look at everything it has to offer, Savannah's hard to beat.
Well, we're really glad that you're really plugged into the community here. I believe I first met you at Geekend, where you were a speaker last year. How was that experience for you?
It was great. I loved it. I was a bit more nervous than I thought I would be. I think my nerves got the best of me, but I loved interacting with it. I think the most rewarding part was after finishing the talk, all the people that came up to the stage and they had questions, and I think we talked. There was a Q&A that lasted longer than the actual talk did. So it was an hour. They kicked us off the stage so the keynotes could come and set up, and then that went into the lobby, and we kept talking, and that went to dinner, and then we came back for the keynote, and it was really rewarding, at least for me, to specifically just to have that communication with and interest from. I mean, it can be. I was talking about user interfaces that can be kind of boring, so the idea that there's more interest and excitement around it was very nice.
Yeah, it's definitely cool that people got really into it and wanted to continue the discussion. So was it your first year of Geekend, or had you been before?
It was my first year speaking, but I've gone to all of the Geekends that we've had.
So will we see you there this year as well in October?
Absolutely.
Great.
Yeah, I would not miss it. It's very inspiring. That was the hardest part. We joked with some people that I'd gone to the conference with. This is the hardest part was staying there because you see these really motivating, inspiring speeches. And you're like, I'm just going to leave and go make something. I just want to go build something or put something together. And I had a hard time sitting still. But no, I stayed I couldn't leave. I made it through the whole thing and went home, and it was talking to my daughter. I was like, let's go do this. Let's go build this thing. Let's go outside. Let's go make something. What are you,
Awesome.
Let's go buy something. Let's go make it. Let's go do something. Let's interact. And it was great. It just kept that vibe kept going long after the event was over.
Great. That's really great to hear. Well, thank you for coming to the front porch. We hope to see you at different events, not only Geekend. Yeah, that's all.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I had a great time.
Hello and welcome to the front porch. My name is B. Ray. I'm with the Creative Coast, and today we're chatting it up with Tommy Linstroth. Hey, Tommy.
Thanks for having me.
Happy to have you. So there's so many things to discuss with you, but let's start with Green Badger. What is Green Badger?
Sure. Green Badger is a technology company focused on sustainability solutions for the construction industry.
Perfect. And how is it used?
How is it used? Well, our primary product right now is helping contractors that are building green buildings. We help them manage that process better. So to earn LEED certification, there's a head-pounding amount of paperwork that's required to go through it. And we facilitate that process. We're basically
head-pounding amount.
into a wall, yes.
Yeah, lots.
So
Okay.
we act as basically TurboTax for LEED certification for general contractors.
Got it. And so you're selling to the general contractor, and you're saying, buy this product, it'll help you stop bounding your head into the wall and get your LEED certification. all
Exactly. I mean, there's sort of three target groups within the contractor world. There's, the project manager, who's the one out in the field, who we're saving them a ton of their own time so they can focus it. Then you've got sort of the project executives who can now leverage all that extra time and have them working on other projects. And then even higher up, you've got the ability now to aggregate your data across a lot of different projects so that you can actually go out and tell the world, here's how we do as an organization, as well as just overall for all three levels. It's reducing the risk of screwing something up and ending up in, losing points, losing a certification, or, ending up in litigation over it.
So I could save a lot of money, not just in time, but in legal fees, and I might actually utilize some of my data that you're giving back to me as far as how long a project takes, that sort of data, or what kind of data am I getting back?
It's more focused on your sustainability metrics. So,
Okay.
there's a lot of companies that are now using the Global Reporting Initiative, which is a corporate social responsibility reporting mechanism, and they have a lot of key performance indicators. So being able to say, as a company, we've diverted 3 million tons of construction waste throughout our projects, or we use all healthy products in our interiors, and here's in fact what we've used across the last 30 projects over the past 2 years.
And you have a long personal history in LEED.
Yeah, I've been doing LEED for over 10 years. This past fall I was honored as a LEED Fellow, which is sort of the highest echelon of personal accreditation for a person. So I've done 70 projects myself, and Green Badger was an outcropping of, again, me pounding my head against the wall saying, how do we make this process more efficient, and how do we put a tool out there that really helps a lot of other people. And I figured if it helped me out, Lord knows there'd be a lot of other people it can help as well.
Perfect. And so what happened 10 years ago where you said, hey, I want to go into this world of LEED development?
Well, it actually had happened before then. When I was 15, 17 years ago, when I was getting my undergrad, I really just started developing a passion for sustainability. And it was every time I came back from college to my parents' house, I just saw all the neighborhoods in the forest and the cropland where I grew up was now being suburban sprawled. And so I decided I needed to do something about it. So it was, I got a minor in environmental studies and couldn't get a job with a minor. So I worked for a year and then just realized this was really what my passion was. So I moved down to Charleston from Wisconsin and got my master's in Charleston, and then took a job with a sustainable development company here as soon as I graduated from there.
Awesome. And so now you have this company that's growing, and you've got projects underway right with Green Badger, and now you're actually become sort of a internet startup guy, from sustainability and construction to taking that to a whole nother level.
Exactly, and we spent most of 2014 finalizing development and in beta with a couple dozen users, and 2015 is really the year that we've been on the road for the vast majority of the first quarter, and it's full on sales mode and brand building and letting people know what our tool is and how it can help them. So we're out every day shaking hands and sitting down, buying people beer, buying them a coffee, and trying to tell them what we do.
And walk me through a project manager's day when they're using Green Badger. Give me a couple examples of what they might do.
Well, I can tell you what they wouldn't have to do.
Okay,
So typically, for example, during construction, you've got to do a lot of inspections and verify that you are actually doing green building practices. So one of them is an indoor air quality inspection. So you need to walk around your site and take pictures of your ductwork being covered and housekeeping practices and things of that nature. So what typically happens is they'll do that along with their other 1,000 construction photos they've taken for the day. And they'll do that, every so often, and 6 months later they'll finally sync that camera, and they pull off 10,000 pictures, and then they've got to go back and create, reports for that date saying, well, here's my pictures, and here's what the comments were. Now I got to remember what the heck I was thinking when I even took this picture to show compliance. Where with our mobile app, we have a web and mobile app. With the mobile version, you're walking around, you're simply, here's my ductwork covered. Click, type in your notes, take as many pictures as you want. Hit save, it automatically generates their report for them right then and there. So,
right in the ductwork covering section.
Exactly. So it lays out what they need to document. All they've got to do is add pictures, a couple notes, and hit save, and it'll either store in the cloud server or they can send that as a PDF before they even go back to the job trailer.
It sounds like there's a big risk for organizations who don't have Green Badger if a project manager leaves and halfway through the project, all they have is a big file of photos, and no one remembers what that person was thinking.
Sure, and that happens all the time. I mean, some of these projects go on 3 years, and you'll cycle through, 3 or 4 different people coming and going, and if they're trying to maintain this, there's just a lot of lack of data transfer. And again, a lot of times they're doing this with paper, with physical copies of stuff, and there's just binders, and who knows where they go, and we just take all that information, put it in one central cloud-based location where anyone on the team can access it 24/7 wherever they are.
Wow, good for you. Well, it looks great. Talk to me for a minute about your nonprofit life having to do with sustainability.
So we started sustainativity.org is the website, and it is a nonprofit focused on direct philanthropic investments in sustainability. So what that basically means is we work with local nonprofits, and I work with them to identify sustainability projects within their realm that benefit them, and we will fundraise and implement those projects. So this past year we worked with Second Harvest Food Bank. They had 20-year-old lighting, and we went in and replaced all of their lighting. So instead of cutting them one check for $10,000, we were able to replace their lighting, which will save them $3,500 a year every year from here on out. So we create little mini sustainability endowments at each of these nonprofits we work with.
Great job. Well, Tommy Linstroth, so great to see you. Thanks for all your wonderful work, both in sustainability and in Green Badger, and just being part of what makes Savannah awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Of course.